Treasures from a Deep Mine. There is an old Arab proverb which says, "The best speaker can turn the ear into an eye." Readings for Lent in daily life. This book introduces us to the writings of a woman who spent her life in a supporting role to her husband's ministry and left us with a set of Christian readings to bring us closer to Jesus Christ and God. Background. Alison Daunton-Fear, writer, preacher, at a time before the ordination of women. Inspired. 1911 to 2001. Alison's parents were Andrew and Dora Roberts. Andrew, a Scot, worked in the bank in India. Dora, English, born in India, married and had 4 children. Derek, Kenneth, Winifred, all born in India. Andrew retires from bank and all moved back to England. Alison, born in Hove, Sussex in 1911. World War I, Derek killed in 1950. Kenneth, a banker, injured out of army and returns to India. Marries into a tea planting family and settles. Father railed against God when son Derek was killed, declared himself an atheist. Daughter Winifred atoned for him, turned to God and became a nun at this time. Father dies distraught at son's death. Mother takes Alison for a visit to Kenneth in India. Alison was disturbed by deep needs of Indian society. On return to England, she went to Ridgelands Bible College. Alison's life with Richard. Alison was introduced to Richard Daunton-Fear by a mutual friend. At the time, he was at the London College of Divinity. They fell deeply for each other and married in 1934. Richard was a parish priest in Woolham, Dorset, then a parish priest Aspenden, Herts, parish Denton, East Sussex, vicar Linfield, West Sussex, rector Street, Somerset. In the 1940s there were worries about evacuees, food and clothes rationing. While Alison supported him by writings, talks, work on PCCs. It is these 40 talks and writings that are published in this book, Readings for Lent in Daily Life. So far you've had the background to these talks and readings. Now of flavour. Getting back in touch with God. Imagine you're in a large crowd. Jesus is there. If I may touch but the hem of his garment. This talk was on page 9. Treasures in heaven. When you think of national treasures, of course you think of places like St Paul's Cathedral, Westminster Abbey, Liverpool Cathedral, Joshua Reynolds' painting in the National Galleries, Madonna and Child, the late Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, in the National Portrait Gallery, a chest, perhaps the same chest from Treasure Island, a friend of the family Bible. Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there is your heart." This talk is to be found on page 27. Each one of these readings comes with references and citations from Scripture to meditate on. You can experience friendship with God. There is no such thing as a solitary Christian. This talk would be found on page 55. Influence. Mrs. Emmeline Pankhurst, Her Votes for Women. Florence Nightingale, all the work she did to improve the suffering in hospitals of soldiers. And Elizabeth Fry, whose work on prisons improved ignorance. Boats for women, wanted everywhere. We are rudderless, we need the ballot. Florence Nightingale in work in hospitals dramatically reduced the number of soldiers dying in hospital. Elizabeth Fry went to prisons and looked at the conditions under which people were staying there. The hulk ships, prisoners were put onto old ships. She visited every ship taking prisoners to Australia. What a debt we owe these women pioneers. They all drew strength, courage and inspiration from God. Page 73. Alison's talks reflect her radiant Christian faith and intuitive spirit, her extensive knowledge of the Bible, and her deep love and understanding of the needs of humanity. A bigger challenge, Reverend Richard Daunton-Fear appointed rector in 1948 of some 5 churches in Gravesend in Kent. For economic reasons, one of his 5 churches had to close. The bishop chose this one. St. George's Gravesend, chosen to close. A Princess Pocahontas is buried under the chancel. When announced St. George's Gravesend was being closed, there were letters in the London Times. This was one of the earliest Americans. Don't close St. George's Gravesend. Here are pictures of Princess Pocahontas. St. George's was the oldest church in Gravesend. If the Americans were interested in Pocahontas, then what? Who was this princess? What was the English-speaking union? What is the way forward? Telephone conversations went on between England and America. Who was Pocahontas? Daughter of Big Chief of many tribes in Virginia, America. Born in 1596, famous for her association with English settlers of Virginia. Provided food for settlers when they were starving. Captured, ransomed, converted to Christianity, then married J. Rolfe, gent in 1614. came to England with his husband, and here we see a picture of Hinton Hall in Norfolk, so he was a substantial local landowner. Pocahontas was successful at court. She was presented to Queen Anne, but she missed Virginia. Here we see a ball at the Palace of Whitehall in London. She died of scarlet fever at Gravesend on the voyage back to Virginia. And as a consequence is buried at St George's Gravesend under the chancel. After much deliberation, St George's was saved. Richard and Alison went to America. Funds were raised both in England and in the United States. St George's became an ecumenical chapel of unity. Information about Pocahontas will be found on page 123 in Appendix 1. So many of these talks were written in Australia for an Australian audience. So here is Aussie flavour. That's better. Right, here is Australia. If you want to have some distances, Australia and New Zealand are 1,000 miles apart. Here's a picture of Tamworth. And a more recent picture of the same place. There are 60,000 people living here. There's the church in Tamworth where Richard Daunton-Fear was from 60 to 65, and then in Adelaide from 66 to 70. Life after Pocahontas for Richard and Alison. 53-59 Parish Hove, Sussex. 59-60 Senior Chaplain to Archbishop Cape Town, South Africa. 60-65 Archdeacon of Tamworth, New South Wales, Australia. 66-70 Organising Chaplain of Bishop's Home Mission, South Australia. Permitted to officiate in Diocese of Wulokra, Tumby Bay, South Australia. Permission to officiate Diocese of Winchester, living in Jersey. Honorary Chaplain, St Matthew's, Millbrook, Jersey. Permitted to officiate in Diocese of Truro, St Austell, Cornwall. Permission to officiate in Diocese of Chichester. Meanwhile, Alison continued supporting him with talks, training sessions and radio broadcasts. In 1993, Richard died peacefully in Worthing on June the 9th. Michael Turnbull, Bishop of Durham, 94-2003, wrote, These gems of Christian insight light up the biblical truth in a simple and accessible way, and with a freshness which comes from the context in which they were offered. Edited and introduced by Andrew Daunton-Fear and his sister Mary Treacher. Published by Onwards and Upwards, Exeter. Some of the talks have brought me close to tears for the sheer beauty of them. Mary Treacher. My sisters and I rarely heard Mother give a public talk, though were once present at a youth fellowship variety show when she spoke. I now know the secret of her power came from her deep spiritual life, her knowledge of the Bible, her love of life and people, her inquiring mind, and a certain dramatic flair. Andrew Daunton-Fear. My mother was the most loving, understanding and kindly person. Ruth Sinker, E. Daunton-Fear. Alison Daunton-Fear died peacefully on August the 22nd, 2001.